Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle podcast, the place where expert-based business owners learn how to build momentum, avoid burnout, and create sustainable success on their own terms. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, strength and conditioning specialist turned founder and CEO of Prime Performance Coaching, the personal performance strategy firm for high-achieving business owners and operators. I partner with driven entrepreneurs to implement the Prime Performance process, an awareness-based operating system that's helped me and countless solopreneurs and small business owners evolve from just being high performers on the edge of burnout to prime performers building sustainable success. The impact of Prime Performance process has led me here, where I'll show you how to get unstuck and design your own Prime Performance life without sacrificing your health, relationships, or sanity. So whether you're hustling after hours or scaling your passion project, today and here, you're going to get real stories, science-backed strategies, and practical frameworks to help you excel every step of your journey. It's time. Let's get intentional, build momentum, and become prime performers together. We'll get started just after this message. If you're an ambitious business owner or side hustler who's ready for a breakthrough, tired of spinning your wheels, looking to slide past burnout and build real momentum, I'd love to invite you to book a free Prime Performance strategy session with me or one of our strategists. This is your chance to get personalized insight on what's been holding you back and get a clear path to move forward. No fluff, just actionable strategy. So if you're interested, visit survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to request your spot now. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Looking forward to helping you become a prime performer. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. Today's guest, we've got Eric Dingler on, and he's a digital marketing agency owner, leadership coach, and someone who's built a business that most entrepreneurs only dream about. Eric runs a successful web design and marketing agency while traveling the world with his family. Over the last 4 years alone, they've lived in, I believe, more than 50 homes across 20 countries. But the real story behind that freedom isn't just the location independence, it's leadership. Because before becoming a digital entrepreneur, Eric spent around 15 years running a summer camp where he learned to hire, train, and develop new teams every single year. That experience helped shape the framework he now teaches entrepreneurs who want to scale their businesses without burning out. Today, he helps founders really hire, develop their first team so that they can stop being that technician inside the business and start becoming the leader of it. So Eric, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And I love this Surviving the Side Hustle. My digital marketing agency started as a side hustle. And so it was only ever supposed to be that. And so we survived it.
All right.
Way beyond what we ever imagined or set out to do.
Love it. Love it. Well, so I'd love to just jump in, kind of right there, actually, if you're open to it. So is that what the web design business kind of started as, or could you explain a little bit on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're an open book. I mean, we ask anything. We were in Virginia, and this was several years ago. Like you said, I used to run a summer camp for 15 years and then went into local church ministry. And then my wife and I, we moved to Virginia to plant a church. And as we were pastoring that church, we felt like the next thing we were supposed to do was adopt. And we already had 2 biological children. We ended up adopting our 2 older children that from Bulgaria about 6 years ago. But we wanted to do that debt-free. And adoption is expensive. And to be honest, especially international adoption should be expensive. It's really the only way to prevent human trafficking is to have multiple layers of people involved. And so we needed an extra $50,000 to adopt debt-free. I didn't want to get a loan for it. And I knew how to build websites. So I started building websites as a fundraiser for our adoption. And when we got to the end of that experience, we brought our kids home debt-free, and I had a little business. And so we decided to start a nonprofit organization that we still have today to help other families fund their adoptions. So that's called Achieve Adoption. And we run our business to fund our efforts through our nonprofit. And it's just continued to grow from there.
I like that. Nice. Good work. Good work on everything there. I love to hear about that. But I'm interested to hear, like, when was it that you really realized that the side hustle was really turning into something with some serious traction on it?
Yeah, it had been about a year before COVID hit that that's when we started the nonprofit and stuff. When I looked up and realized, like, you know, because after a couple months of building websites, I it was it was great when there was a website to build. But then
Hmm.
I would be busy building the website and didn't have time to go out and get another project. And so I was in this, feast or famine kind of roller coaster a bit. But I was like, man, I don't know if I need to hire help, but I don't have the consistency of revenue. And I didn't know a lot of what I know now. And so I thought I wish could find some more consistency in the revenue side of things. And so I came across this guy who's a phenomenal web business coach. His name is Josh Hall. And I took one of his courses on monthly maintenance plans and how you could start selling a subscription service basically for people that you'd build a website for, and they would join your care plan and then pay you every month to manage their website and send them a report. And so I just implemented what he taught, and about 3 months later, had enough people signed up and recurring revenue and confidence. I hired my first person to help me, just 2 hours a week, and that was the next thing that changed the game. I can't say there's been like one game changer moment. It's been like all of these little moments that have added up together. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So yeah, so that was kind of the beginning progression.
Okay, I like it. Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of like many things in life, right? It's not there are sometimes there are these big like game changer opportunities and situations, but then also I feel like there's a lot of the kind of meandering in each turn or like recalibration. You learn a little lesson and you move a little bit smoother this way, and then you turn there and you get a little more clear on what you're trying to do. So I can relate to that with myself and my business. So when did you start traveling?
We started traveling 4.5 years ago, and we did our first test trip. We went to Istanbul for 3 months and thought, this is amazing. Came back to the States, sold everything, pretty much everything, kept the baby blankets and stuff like that. We have a little like 10 by 10 storage unit that we're not even using half of it. And for 4 full years, we've lived out of carry-on luggage, 55 apartments in 20 countries. It's me, my wife, and we have 4 teenagers. Our kids are currently 13, 15, 17, and 18.
Wow. And so what's that like traveling with that many kids? Because I feel like, because I got a buddy he's got four girls under four currently at the time of this recording. And he was saying how he doesn't have very much vacation planned for the foreseeable future. And I'm like, totally get that, dude. That sounds pretty hectic. But you've got teenagers who I guess they are a little more independent, but still like require a lot of guidance and supervision and everything as well. Plus, you don't want to lose somebody anywhere in the world.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. There are plenty of parents that do digital nomad lifestyle with little kids. They tend to do what's called slow travel, where they may be in a place for 6 months at a time, or they'll do it in an RV, or they'll convert a bus and they'll live in a bus. And so they're able to have somewhat of that routine. But our kids, our youngest was 9 when we started. And at that point, put your shoes on. Everybody can put their own shoes on, and the correct shoes on the correct feet. So they don't need a lot of babying as far as that goes. So all of our kids, they just learned very quickly. We've got it down to a science. I mean, we gonna show up in a Airbnb, and within 45 minutes, it's home. Everybody's got their thing they set up and they do. And then when it's time to leave, we can have an Airbnb packed up and be good to go in about 2 hours. And everybody grabs we live out of backpacks. We have these backpacks that convert to carry-on bags or backpacks, depending on what you do with the straps, and one personal bag. And we leave and go jump on a train, a bus, a plane. We've crossed borders by driving. We've walked across borders. So yeah.
So I love that. And I love that you have a system for that because I know how important systems are, especially when you're starting to get some traction with your business, but then also with the idea of scaling and kind of growing there. So I want to ask to shift it back over to the business kind of world of things. Like, what were some of the first systems that you built that really set the foundation for your business to kind of run without you needing to be working 20?
Yeah, that's good. I'm very much a systems guy. I think systems are key to it. There are 5 core systems that under that each will you'll have multiple systems. So there are 5 core systems everybody has to have. And I had to have all 5 in place before we could live this way. And because there have been times like we went to the Amazon rainforest, into the Amazon jungle for 10 days, totally off grid. I mean, we didn't have cell service, it was nothing. And so my team couldn't have got a hold of me if they wanted to. And so I think the first systems I really had in place even when I hired our first 2 hour a week employee was leadership. Your leadership capacity is the capacity of your business, period. And what I love about leadership is it's universal. If you grow as a leader in work, you can lead better in home. If you grow as a leader in your home, you can lead better at work. You can lead better in volunteering, for your favorite organization. Like leadership is just this amazing skill that like it's hard to take a skill from web design and take that into my family and make my family life better, right? Like works like there's skills like that are kind of like in their place, but leadership is unique. And I love that's why I geek out on it. So I had a system to develop myself as a leader. My very first hire, like I said, was 2 hours. I immediately set aside 1 hour a month. And it was just 1 hour a month that while he was working, I went and had what I called my CEO time, where I went and worked on the business for an hour, me, a legal pad, a paper, a coffee mug, and that was it. And then a couple months into it, that became, CEO day. And it's grown to where now that's really the only thing I do in my company is provide leadership. But the 5 systems overall, you have leadership, lead generation, lead conversion, collecting and managing money, and project management. Those 5 things are the things you really have to have in place. And then every time you cycle through those, your company grows.
So you just go through one system at a time, kind of like optimizing and upgrading whatever you can. And then when you get through all 5, that's where you're expecting to kind of hit like a next stage or a milestone for your business?
Yeah, well, so a lot of times we're working on multiple ones at a time. Like, we're constantly working on lead generation and project management, but my team is doing, like my executive assistant, Emily and I may be working on a project on lead, on lead generation. And then Peter, who's our director of web services, is maybe working on a project to improve our project management on that over there. And then I may be in a season where I have a coach that is helping me on lead conversion. And then every week I'm studying leadership, talking leadership, reading leadership books, listening to leadership podcasts. And then at this point, we have an accountant that is a consultant accountant that kind of like a CFO, a fractional CFO, fractional chief financial officer, that she's been helping us this last year improve our accounting systems. So I'm always working on a little bit of that. Now, starting out, it was one at a time. Like, because I didn't have the capacity, but as my capacity increased with my team can. Some people on my team, they're technicians and they do a job and it's great and that's what they do. But some people on my team are leaders, and those people that are in leadership roles, they're also responsible for improving systems regularly.
So how do you define leadership yourself?
Yeah, leadership is being able to paint a very clear picture of where we're headed, and then pulling together the resources or understanding the resources anyways that you're going to need to get there, and then coordinating those resources. And so you're constantly moving to a picture of preferred future. And this is all stuff that the thing that I didn't realize was so unique about being a camp director until like 2 years ago was, every year I'd hire my staff, so I'd have to do all this recruiting to figure out how to recruit the right people, onboard and train them, delegate to them, and then I would have staff that would return for multiple summers. And so I was then working to develop them so they could grow up into higher and higher responsibility and work their way up our, corporate ladder, if you will. But because it was a seasonal summer camp, when camp was over, I got a chance to sit back and go, okay, what worked, what didn't, and rework my leadership and learn some things and grow. And then next year do it all again. So I had these 15 laboratories that by the time I got to my side, I was pastoring a church, using all of that knowledge from there. And then when I started the side hustle and wanted to hire, it was the same thing. I just use all that stuff. And I didn't realize until 2 years ago just how unique that those 15 years experience was that helped me turn the side hustle into a full-time 9 to 5.
Okay. So you started this side hustle to fund your adoption plans that you had. Then you started getting some traction with what things were going. You hired this guy to kind of come in 2 times a week, you said it was?
2 hours a week.
Okay, 2 hours a week.
Yeah, remote. He's from Bulgaria. Today, he's our director of web services. He's been with us 6 years.
Wow. So you bring him in and then you start carving out a little bit of time for your CEO hour, which then evolves into CEO day. So where do we go from you now spending more time working on the business instead of in the business to where you're at now, which is like helping entrepreneurs kind of scale and helping them redo their like hiring systems and stuff like that. So how did you get from there to where you're at now?
Yeah, sure. So when we started traveling, it is unique, and we realized that we've been very blessed and lucky to be able to do it. We've also worked hard to be able to do it, and we don't live on perpetual vacation. A lot of people think that we're just always on vacation because 1 week we're posting pictures because we're at the Eiffel Tower. And, 2 weeks later, we're in Buenos Aires. And, 2 weeks later, we're in, the Patagonia region. And so it just looks like we're on this epic adventure. And we are. Nobody's life no snapshots you see through somebody's Instagram is their, the whole story of their real life. And so in between all of those shots, I'm working full time. Our kids are doing school full-time. My wife homeschools our kids. All of them are at different stages. And so she's got 4 students at 4 very different places. Plus she's having to plan our next move and find bus tickets. So, there's a lot of work. Plus meals, and our kids still need to go to the dentist. And, somebody always needs a new pair of shoes. So it's just all that stuff has happened. Why we're doing all of these other things. Plus we're living on a budget, so it's not like we just have infinite financial resources. But all of that to say, we were posting, pictures of it and stuff. We weren't trying to build, we never tried to build an influencer brand or anything like that's not my thing. But people started asking questions, how do you do this? How are you doing it? At first, I thought, well, it's our lead gen system. We've really figured out a asynchronous remote lead gen system. So I started teaching people to do lead gen the way we were doing it. And kind of realized that one, it's not unique. Lead generation's lead generation. There's no magic successful way to do it. Just consistency compounds. That's what it takes. Staying focused on pick your thing and do your thing. And don't go do the next shiny thing until you master this thing. You just got to do that. So I started teaching that, and then people would start getting success. And about 9 months into, really doing that, I had about a half dozen people. I'm like, well, you need to start hiring help. And they just I don't know what you mean. They were just dumbfounded by that. And so then I thought, okay, well, it must be our whole remote system structure that includes the leadership and the lead conversion and the project management. So I started teaching that. This must be, what it is. It's our whole business system. And then again, same thing. People would, start implementing it. and have success with it. And then I'd be like, okay, your next set, now you need to hire. And again, they'd be just like, I just don't know what that means. And that's where it was about 2 years ago. I realized I just assumed everybody knew how to hire because for 15 years, that's what I did. I just hired. Right. And so, yeah. So to me, I just thought this is something everybody just does, like just hire. I don't know. I understand why you're thinking about this. So then that's when I started teaching just a couple people. I was like, let me help you hire your first person. And then that's when I really realized this was the difference maker. And I had a business coach about 4 years ago, and this was such great advice. He told me, we were talking one time, and he said, Eric, real estate agents don't build the houses that they're selling. And that, because I was still, even at then, pretty involved with a lot of our website projects. And like, I haven't even logged into a client's website in probably 3 years now. So that mindset shift really helped me go to the next level of like, I really need to hire out all the technician stuff. But I didn't panic when he said, I just went, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I went out and I recruited and I onboarded and I started delegating too, and I developed them. Peter, when he started 6 years ago, he barely knew how to log in the WordPress. And now he's our director of web services, and him and his team, there's not a website they couldn't build. But that takes years of, development and intentionality and building people up. So that was kind of the leap, just trying to help people. I guess that's still the pastor's heart in me. If somebody raises a question or a problem, I feel compelled to answer it, and help them. And now I'm really jazzed about it, Rob, because now I'm realizing like, having a job is such a game changer for people. I mean, it just changes everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can't hire 2,000 people. But man, over the next couple years, if I could teach 1,000 people to how to hire their first 2 people, I've just helped 2,000 people get a job. If I can help 1,000 people hire 4,000 people, I've just now helped 4,000 people get a job. So I'm really plugged into this, and it's probably some of the most fun I've ever had in this entire journey.
Yeah, and that's awesome because I love the impact that you're building and creating around the world with everybody being able to teach other employers, because that's why it's so important for small businesses to kind of continue to grow and succeed, because I think that's a huge benefit to everybody in the world, just creating opportunities for more people. And I talk a lot about creating shared successes, and for yourself, for the people you collaborate with, and whether it's employees or whatnot, but then also for the customers as well, like making sure that everybody has some degree of success with what you're doing. And I want to ask you though, because to be honest, I haven't really thought too much into the hiring kind of world until I started thinking about like affiliates and virtual assistants and whatnot. At the time being, it's just like, okay, well, who can help me kind of create this flyer or whatever it may be? So then it was like, okay, I just want to fill this spot with pretty much anybody who's like equipped to do this. And I understand that that's different when you're hiring somebody just to fulfill like a job there versus hiring somebody to kind of create some culture and making a team a better team and stuff like that. And I'm interested to hear you, like when you're going in and you're teaching people like how to hire correctly for the position, what are some things that you share with them?
Well, the first thing we start out with is what I call gap hiring, which is what you described, just hiring somebody to fill a gap. That's a great place to start. I just had my weekly mastermind group. We were just meeting, and one of the ladies in there, we were just talking the same thing, that, she was getting ready to hire somebody, but when in truth, she's not ready to hire somebody because she can't commit to paying them every month. And so it was like, okay, this is really going to be a role for a freelancer, which means though, you have to take out some of the things you like. She wanted to hire somebody that could take over a project and call the client and, get stuff from the client, stuff like that. And I was like, you can't do that with a freelancer. That is somebody that's going to be on your team. So there's hiring for your team, like you said, which, is a group of people you're creating culture with and developing. And then you have gap hires, people freelancers just doing a specific thing, maybe one time, maybe all the time. We use both in my agency. Our designer, Max, every website we build is designed by Max. He's designed all of our websites the last 2 years. He's a freelancer. He's not on the team. He doesn't participate in any team oriented stuff. He's not in our virtual break room. He doesn't attend monthly all staff meetings. He's just a freelancer. And that's fine because some months I need 6 websites designed and some months I only need 2 websites designed. So I don't need somebody on payroll to do that. So when I first start working with someone, we have to start where they are individually because it is unique. You may be in a position where you need just a couple gap hires. Somebody else may need 2 hours a week. Somebody may need 10. The key to success, though, is the very next step. And this is the step that most people fall down on. They'll hire somebody and then let's say you hire somebody because you said, I need a flyer made. Okay, great. So you hire somebody to do this flyer because it was going to take you 2 hours. But instead, you've decided to hire somebody. Well, then what happens, though, is a lot of times people will take those 2 hours and they'll go do another project. Well, no, I don't have to design that flyer, so I can go here and do this. And that's where the mistake happens. Starting out for your first few, especially your first 1 to up to 4, maybe 6, depending, there's some variables in there. But especially your first 1 to 4. When you hire somebody, you want to take up to about 80% of that time. Now, if you're hiring somebody for 2 hours, just do the whole 2 hours. If you hire somebody for 10 hours, you're going to take 8 hours of those 10 hours, and you're going to do revenue generating work. That's the benefit of hiring somebody to take something off your plate. You now have time to focus on revenue generating work, not another project, not another task. I'm going to pay them for 2 hours. I'm going to go make money with those 2 hours. That's the key. When my students, a lot of them start out by hiring 10 hours a week, a virtual assistant, something like that, $60, $100 a week, gets most people what they need. And, we put all the systems together for it and all that kind of stuff. And then those 10 hours, I have them take 1 hour. That's them time. Go to Starbucks, binge watch something on Netflix. I don't care what you do. That's your time. That's the benefit of being a business owner. Then the second thing you're going to do is you're going to take 1 hour a week and you're going to put it on leadership, developing yourself as a leader and developing this new person as a leader. Or not as a leader, but developing them as their leader. But then you're going to take 8 hours and you're going to do revenue generating work. And if you spend 8 hours for the next 4 weeks only doing work that actually creates revenue, like calling all of your past clients for an upsell opportunity, working the pipeline, whatever it does that makes you money, in a month, you're going to have increased your revenue well beyond the salary that you just added to your company. Because hiring somebody, it's not about how much it's going to cost you. It's about how much it's costing you not hiring them. That's where most people get stuck on. And even side hustle, like I work with people, most of the people I work with have remote side hustles or remote job, web designers, copywriters, they're in the digital space. But even if you're in a physical job, your side hustle is, doing laundry or, washing the neighbor's, garbage cans or, you got a dog walking, business, whatever. There are parts of that you can hire out if you want your side hustle to become your main thing. Now, Rob, there's plenty of people, they want their side, they just want to make an extra $2,000 a month and that's it. Like they don't want it, and that's fine. That this isn't for that. This is for people that have that side hustle with the dream of it becoming their 9 to 5 so that it can escape and they can be their own boss. But again, I would say, real estate agents don't build the houses they sell. So you have to get out of the technician seat fast.
Yeah. That's also really scary though itself, right? Because I have a buddy of mine who, or an old friend back in the day. I haven't really spoken to him too recently, but he had a laser engraving business and he was like engraving a bunch of whatever you wanted on different types of things. And he got to a point where he started blowing up. So he started having a huge inflow of all these email orders and he could just never get past that email ordering because he swore that nobody could respond to emails like he could. And I was like, okay, dude, that's amazing. But like, think about how much time you're wasting in not filling and doing like the actual thing you should be doing because he couldn't delegate that out to somebody else. Like, do you see a lot of people struggling with delegation?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a huge mindset. There are several mindsets that people have about delegating that don't serve them well. And the first thing I would say to people is it's never a person issue. It's a systems issue. This is where systems come into place. Like maybe you're right that the current way you're thinking about hiring somebody, you're not gonna be able to hire somebody that can do it as good as you. Well, that's a systems issue. It's not a people. Like, come on, you're really the only person in the world that can answer emails?
That's,
I
dude,
don't think so. What most people confuse is they confuse unique judgment versus unique knowledge. And they think, well, I can only answer the emails because I'm the only one that knows this. Okay. Well, you can transfer that knowledge. Okay. So now you can give that away. But if there are certain things that you may only be the one that can make the judgment decision. Okay. Well, then that filters up to you. I know I get, I'll be honest, I don't even know how many emails I get anymore. The last time I was responsible for my email, I was getting about 80 a day. And it was just killing me. It was killing me on time production. My executive assistant, Emily, she handles I haven't checked email. I haven't logged in my email in a long time. She handles it all. We have a system every day. A few, 1, 2, 3 emails trickle up to me because only I have the judgment that is required to answer that as the business owner. But the rest of the knowledge I've transferred systematically into our system that then Emily can go into the system to get the answer. Now she's learned so many answers. She doesn't have to go into the system anymore, but I didn't give Emily the knowledge. I put the knowledge into our system and then plugged Emily into the system.
Mm.
And that's where people, where we help people delegate when they figure that out. And it's, there's some tips and tricks and hacks to do that and things like that, but it's a systems issue. And the key is this. I think we have 220 SOPs in our company. I wrote 2. I wrote an SOP, how to make Eric a cup of coffee, which is weird because my team is entirely remote, like nobody works in our office. But I created an SOP, how to make Eric a cup of coffee. And then I created an SOP, how to create an SOP while creating the SOP, how to make Eric a cup of coffee. Those are the only 2 SOPs I've ever done. Now, I am regularly, it's less and less, but for, starting about 2 years ago, I was regularly going, hey, this is really good. Make sure you create an SOP for this. Well, this is really good. Here's the answer, create an SOP for this. My team creates all of our SOPs, and that's how we do it. And so we call it the SOP vault. We've documented our systems. We've got them there. We've got quality control checklists. We call them quacks. We put ducks on them, or, we now in our culture, we would be like, hey, can you run and then we put the duck emoji in it. Can you run a duck emoji on this? But my team knows that means a quality control checklist, a quack. And so, yeah, but that took time. And I'm not and it wasn't me that did it. It was my team doing it. I was leading them to do it. And that's the key to it.
Yeah, I love that. And as I'm continuing to grow myself as an individual and looking ahead at bringing more people into my world and my team, I'm just realizing how important it is to have those SOPs in place for pretty much everything that I'm doing. And I just feel like that's just incredibly valuable. Great advice there. So I'm interested to hear, so where are you going now with the business? Because it sounds like you got everything on autopilot. What's your next goal or next milestone for yourself?
Yeah. So our goal is this time next year, in about 12 months, kind of going into the end of Q1. Our goal is to bring in a full-time person into In Transit Studios. We haven't decided yet if this is going to be a new CEO or just a operations manager or, director, I haven't decided that, but I hope to be in about a year. I hope to be doing coaching full time on building and leading teams, remote teams specifically. And so, yeah, so that's our plan. My wife and I were the CEO and COO. She is the chief organizing officer because I'm allergic to details. And so I needed somebody like that. But my executive assistant is kind of growing into that role. And so my wife is going to be done working in the company at the end of the year is our goal. And then, like I said, my goal is hopefully by this time next year, just to be in the owner seat of the agency. And instead of me leading department heads like I'm leading now, I want to be to the point where I'm just leading one person who's then leading the department heads, who's leading the teams.
Mm.
And then I just want to be doing full-time coaching. We last year launched a 90-day accelerator. We call it the Profitable Team Accelerator. And we take a cohort through it at a time, where in 90 days, we hire your first assistant, your first VA, maybe a VA. That's what 95% of people start with, and that's fine. And I guarantee that within 90 days of you hiring them, you'll make back every dollar that you invest into the 90-day sprint, or I'll work with you one-on-one until, you do make that investment back. So, and then that leads people that graduate that cohort. If they want to, they can go on into a mastermind group.
Mm.
So yeah, so that I've got that. People that aren't quite ready to hire, we've got a course called OP3 that helps them kind of get some of the business foundations a little more better place. That's more self-guided that people can go through. And I have a monthly call that they can come into and ask anything about that. So that's where I'm really just hoping to build those up.
Nice. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about that. So we'll have to have you back on once you've finally exited out and you're onto a new project.
Yeah.
But so if someone's listening right now and they're like, hey, I really want to get involved, I want to get into this world, where do they go? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, because I'm egotistical, I guess. My website is just my name, so ericdingler.com. Then go to ericdingler.com/first hire and download a first hire readiness guide. Or if they want, like I said, some people, it's like, well, what is that next step for me? And I don't have a one size fits all next step because it is kind of unique. So I do have a series of questions that I've asked. I used to have this as a quiz, and it was okay, but there was just some nuances. The quiz didn't quite work. So I've just decided I just do these now in a 25-minute coaching call. And those are free. And it's just kind of a next step. What is your next step, for you? Is it to hire? Is it not to hire? And if it's not to hire, then what do you need to do to get ready for that? If it is to hire, what should be that first hire? And so we can figure that out in about 25 minutes, just that in a quick diagnostics call. And so the people get that, just go to ericdingler.com/call, and that'll let them check and see if there's any availability for those. Those are a little more limited. Or like I said, ericdingler.com/first hire. It is a full, it's called the first hire readiness checklist. It's going to help you figure out, what role, how many, what tasks to take off of your plate, how to handle, to hand off to somebody else. Helps you come up with a plan to what I call 10-10-80. What are you going to do with that 10% of the, that 1 hour of your time that you're buying yourself? What are you going to do 1 hour for leadership? What are you going to do 8 hours to generate revenue? And then it even has a list of 25 revenue generating activities to help people figure out what to do with that time. So they can hit either one of those.
Nice. Yeah, that's a lot of value. And I know you shared a lot of great stuff just here on this episode. So I appreciate you kind of opening up the secrets there and sharing a lot of your knowledge and your experience too, and some of your story as well. I know a lot of the listeners really appreciate that. So thanks, Eric. I really love this. This was awesome for me as well. So this is a super powerful episode.
Good. Well, thank you. I hope it inspires people. And I do know it can, at this point, it can be very overwhelming for people that have listened to the whole thing, because we did cover a lot, and then it's just like, whew, I got to process that. And so I would just encourage people, you don't have to handle all this. there's a guy, Stu McLaren. I learned from Stu, one of his sayings, go into it, grow into it, don't go into it. And so it's just the next step. And so the next step may be the first hire readiness guy, and that's it. You're not committed. You just that maybe it's jumping on a call, 25-minute call, and we just diagnose, your next step together. Whatever, just choose one of those, and that's it. And then after that, you can choose the next step. So just one step at a time.
Love it. Love it. And then Eric, before I let you go, I want to ask you just one last final question, because I know a lot of individuals out there running with a typical 9-to-5, starting a side hustle, juggling a family, maybe a social life at the same time, trying to do it all, but they might be feeling stuck, and because they're doing everything themselves. What would be your one piece of advice for that individual to start to move forward and generate some momentum with themselves?
See yourself as a leader, even if you don't have anybody following you, and start growing yourself as a leader. Because again, your leadership capacity is the capacity of your business, your personal life, your business life, your financial life, your physical health life. Like, no part of your life is going to go beyond your leadership capacity. So, I say in a lot of my stuff, lead better to live better. And I mean it. So I would say, see yourself as a leader, even if you're just leading yourself, you're a leader. See yourself as a leader and develop that. Like, be intentional about what's next for me. Pick up a leadership book, find a leadership podcast to listen to, and just start taking in some leadership content.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. Powerful stuff. Eric, dude, thank you so much. This was an awesome episode. And like I said, I'd love to have you back in the future, man, once you're taking that next stage for yourself.
Let's do it. I'm excited about it.
All right, man. And that's it for everybody today. Peace, 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 peace. That's all for today's episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found value here, please don't forget to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening from. And please create a shared success by helping us share this episode with someone who you think would benefit from today's conversation. And finally, don't forget to connect with us at survivingthesidehustle.com and give us a follow on socials so that we can take part in following along in your entrepreneurial journey. Until next time, remember, success doesn't require a complete sacrifice, just strategy, momentum, and the right support.